I can't take this complicity. People rolling over. I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders. I mean, handing out crowns and this is pathetic. Nobel Prizes that are being given away. I mean, it's just pathetic. And I hope people understand how pathetic they look on the world stage. I mean, at least from an American perspective, it's embarrassing. It's time to buck up. It's time to get serious and stop being complicit. It's time to stand tall and firm, have a backbone. I've seen this in the United States, the supine Congress playing both sides, saying one thing on a text or a tweet and another publicly. It's time to have principle. It's time to stand tall and strong. It's time to stand united. You make that determination. I don't make that determination.
When you say standing
collectively, this is diplomacy with Donald Trump. He's a T-Rex. You mate with him or he devours you. One or the other.
And
people need to stand, but no, the Europeans could be if they continue down this path and process. They need to stand tall, stand firm, stand united. Look, this a year ago we should have been having this conversation, and they didn't. Okay, and now you're paying the price. Exactly what anyone objective observer would have anticipated we'd be where we.
And somehow, Democrats claim that we're the weird ones. I don't know how anyone could come away after watching that clip and think that Gavin is presidential or has the temperament to hold the highest office in the land. So he's in Davos right now, rubbing shoulders, elbows with world leaders. It's clear he's doing this because he's running for president in 2028, and obviously he can't run on his abysmal record in California. So he's boosting his credentials, trying to boost up his image, and instead he just made an absolute fool out of himself. I mean, talking about T-Rexes mating? Dude, if you're projecting your bedroom fantasies onto global politics, maybe skip the Jurassic Park Marathon next time. Seriously, is this a policy thing or a rejected script for a prehistoric erotica novel? Sounds like Gavin's the one ready to roar and roll over, not the Europeans. And by the way, that whole analogy of his of President Trump being a T-Rex and you mate with him or he devours you, that doesn't even make sense, because from his perspective, it's a lose-lose situation. You mate with Trump or he devours. Like, isn't what you're saying that President Trump gets what he wants, that he's always going to win? I don't think that was the message you were going for, Gavin. Who knows, though? Maybe this is just how Gavin flirts at Davos cocktail parties. Mate with him or else he'll devour you. Arr. I mean, if I were Californian, I'd flee the state too. No wonder they're facing a mass exodus right now. I mean, if his idea of standing up to bullies is to invoke prehistoric sexy time, Gavin, President Trump isn't the problem here. He's not the wrecking ball. You are. You're the one turning global policy into a bad Tinder bio for an extinct species. Now, as if Gavin's weird fetishes weren't enough, he was flat out wrong on everything. Not a single premise that he had is correct. He's claiming that the rest of the world, Europe in particular, is subservient to President Trump. They're rolling over to him as if President Trump is the dictator of the world. He's not just the authoritarian dictator of America. No, he is ruling the entire world. That's just not true. Take a look at this headline. F Trump protesters burn U.S. flags in the street as president jets in for summit. This happened in Switzerland. What about this Fortune headline? Trump launches trade war against NATO after European countries sent troops to Greenland amid his takeover plan. Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, and the UK all sent troops to help protect Greenland against any aggression from the United States. Does that sound like Europe is rolling over? Does that sound like Europe is just, playing along with whatever President Trump wants? No. But it's not just what's happening with Greenland. European leaders have always had an adversarial relationship with President Trump. Just take a look at his first term. In fact, oftentimes, they will go against their own self-interest just to stick it to him. Take a look at what Scott Bessent said in Davos.
And just to be clear, that we have Europe buying Russian oil still 4 years later. They are financing the war against themselves.
100% true. They could be buying oil from us. They could be buying oil from anywhere else around the globe, but still, for whatever reason, they're purchasing it from Russia. Meanwhile, they still expect us to keep sending money and weapons to Ukraine so that Ukraine can fight against Russia, which they are empowering, which they are enriching through purchasing all of that oil. It just doesn't make any sense. How is this in anyone's best interest? Yet somehow, for whatever reason, we're the bad guys when we tried to point out this hypocrisy, when we tried to point out, hey, you guys are actually sabotaging yourselves. All of that to say, no, Europe is not rolling over for President Trump, but it wasn't just the T-Rex analogy that Gavin used. He also talked about knee pads. Now, this isn't something new for him. He has this weird obsession with knee pads, and obviously there's some sort of sexual innuendo going on here. Take a look. This is from October 2025.
You will be seeing on my Patriot site new knee pads that I'll be sending out, the new signature series knee pads for all these CEOs, for the University of Virginia that I'll add to the list today, for bending their knee, for those law firms, the universities, media companies, as this guy's rolling back, rewriting history, putting us back to pre-1960s world, censoring historic facts. Wake up, everybody.
So this knee pads insult that Gavin had for European leaders, it's nothing new. He's been saying this for a while. In fact, shortly after he said that about the CEOs and university presidents, he did sell them on his website. And guess what? He actually sold out, which is super embarrassing. I wonder if he bought himself a pair because he seems to be obsessed with this idea. Also, he talks about President Trump being a bully. President Trump is oh so crude, yet Gavin is the one on the world stage saying that why don't the European leaders just bring their knee pads because they're rolling over anyways. He's the one talking about, oh, you either mate with Trump or you get devoured by him. Talk about crude. It just doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, is that really how you're going to talk to European leaders? You're claiming Trump is bullying them, yet you're doing the exact same thing. You're calling them weak. You're calling them pathetic. You're calling them subservient. You're saying they're being taken advantage of by President Trump. How does that make you any better than what you're saying President Trump is doing? On top of all of that, when you are saying that they shouldn't cooperate with President Trump, you, by extension, are saying that they shouldn't cooperate with the United States. I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds a little dangerous. To me, that sounds like you're going against American interests. But the reason he's doing this isn't just about attention. It's about diverting attention because he doesn't want us focused on his policies, let alone his abysmal record in California. Who in the world would want to vote for him to become president when he can't even run his state properly? One of the best ways to prove this is just look at this headline from Axios. California tops nation in percentage of unsheltered homelessness. Now, as far as total homelessness, California is in 5th place behind New York, Vermont, DC, and Oregon, but not doing very well at all. And to make matters worse, the homelessness rate on a per capita basis in California has actually risen under Gavin. And this, by the way, happened when he already spent $12 billion in his budget to confront the homelessness crisis head on. Now, even though he did allot $12 billion in his budget, many experts say that this cost is as high as $27 to $40 billion because there are other things in the budget that are initiatives to address homelessness, but they weren't technically classified for homelessness, if that makes sense. And it's not just homelessness. There have been many crises hitting California, from the fires to the energy crisis, cost of living, and then take a look at Hollywood productions. They are down year over year by 20%. Meanwhile, these Hollywood productions have been moving to states like New York, New Jersey, Illinois. I mean, that is bad. So it's no wonder that Gavin's approval ratings are just in the toilet. This is from Decision Desk HQ. As you can see, Gavin's unfavorable rating is at 42.8%. His favorable rating, meanwhile, 36.3%. So only 36.3% of people have a positive view of Gavin Newsom. Compare that to President Trump, again, from Decision Desk HQ. Trump's favorable rating is over 10 points higher than Gavin Newsom's at 42.7%. Now, some of you might be saying, well, Daniel, Trump's unfavorable rating is much higher at 53.6. Well, that's because so many people have already made up their minds about President Trump. Independents have already made their minds. I mean, Trump has run for office now 3 times. Compare that to Gavin Newsom. While, he is known nationally, there are a lot of people who don't already have an opinion of him. And because those undecideds always split, they never all go one way or all go the other way, I think it's safe to say that Gavin's favorability ratings are always going to be lower than President Trump's. Now, he accused Europe of bending the knee, of rolling over for President Trump. So I actually want to show you a clip from Davos. This is French President Emmanuel Macron. And, well, he just says some really jarring things here. But before we get into that, I would like to thank the members of today's Governors Club. They are Bob Paul, Super Roamer, and Bama Riddenauer. Always great to see you. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I'm so glad that you enjoy, and I'm glad that you're here. But take a look. This is Macron begging for China to invest in Europe.
China is welcome, but what we need is more Chinese foreign direct investment in Europe in some key sectors to contribute to our growth, to transfer some technologies, and not just to export towards Europe some devices or products which sometimes don't have the same standards or are much more subsidized as the one being produced in Europe.
Talk about speaking from a place of weakness. Usually it's the strong, rich countries that invest in other countries to bring them up. That's what China does in Africa, right? They're trying to build their soft power so that should these countries develop, China will have strong allies around the world. That's usually what a superpower does. And so for Europe, which claims to be strong, which claims to be, on equal footing with the United States, for them to be begging China to be making these investments, it's not coming from a place of power. And then also, why are you begging a communist regime to, infiltrate and shape your economy and your culture, your union even more? That just doesn't make any sense to me. By the way, he's wearing glasses because he has some sort of eye condition. I saw a lot of people joking online. What did Brigitte do? Did she hit him again? I don't know. But he actually spent a lot of time slamming President Trump without naming Trump by name. So this just goes against what Gavin Newsom was claiming in the first place.
But we do prefer respect to bullies. We do prefer science to plotism. And we do prefer rule of law to brutality. We have a place where rule of law and predictability is still the rule of the game. And my guess is that it is largely underpriced by the market. Having a place like Europe, which sometimes is too slow, for sure, and needs to be reformed, for sure, but which is predictable, loyal, and where you know that the rule of the game.
Oh boy, that is a beta leader if I ever saw one, and that's clearly why Gavin Newsom wants him to be on his side. Maybe that's why he's talking about the knee pad so much, because he wants Macron to, I don't know, bend the knee to him. Maybe Gavin's just a little jealous of President Trump, I don't know, but that's what he's sounding like, a jealous tantrum thrower who uses perverse analogies. Ugh. Gross. As always, though, all of this is just my analysis and commentary. This is what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So Gavin Newsom talked about T-Rex's mating and knee pads. What do you think is going on here? Do you think he's genuinely trying to be funny and he just has a weird, awkward, juvenile, sophomoric sense of humor? Or do you think he's perverted and he has no shame and he's letting that perverse side show? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. Like, who makes these jokes, especially on the world stage? Makes no sense to me. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.